Hello guys, this is Just One Guy, and this is my tutorial series, Unity for Noobs. Now we're still making an action online game, and in today's episode, we're going to separate the controls. Now to separate the controls, we have to write a script to actually access the networking class, and we have to access a variable called isLocalPlayer, and that's going to be the key to separating the controls. Now we're only going to mess with two scripts today. We're going to write a script called NetworkPlayer for the separation, and that's going to control all our networking functions. And then we're going to access the user controls. That way when you press a button, it only controls one character instead of all the characters in the game. Let's get to it. I've already recorded this, and I'm basically just going to explain what I do and fast forward some of the parts where I'm coding, so you can just see me coding it, and it won't take a real long time. Mainly because this video is over, as you can see right here, an hour long, and what that has to do is a lot of mistakes I made, and I left the mistakes in just so you can see how it is coding if you were doing it yourself, and a lot of little things that I had problems with in Unity, which I'll go over in a few minutes. Okay, let's begin. Now right here, I need to access the documentation, which it screwed me over and cost me about a half-hour work, but I'll get that to that in a minute. But the reason I had to access the documentation is because I forgot how a lot of the networking class, how a lot of the networking code works, and that's because I haven't worked with networking for a while. I've been doing other stuff, and I just had to remind myself, and I forgot a lot of little things right here. Right here, my computer was blocking the access to the documentation, so I had to wait a few seconds. But the documentation is kind of bad because it would lead you to believe networking worked in a way it didn't. Now here's my first problem. I'm trying to find the networking class because all this is under the networking class, but as you can see, already it brings up a bunch of stuff that I don't need. I don't know why the networking class doesn't come up first. But in fact, it's under, I'll show you in a minute, it's under all the way at the bottom. That way you have to go through all this stuff just to find it. And if you were a regular person trying to figure out how the networking worked, this would be really bad, because you can see how far it's down and under a bunch of stuff that you would have to access the networking class to get to anyway. But eventually I find the networking behavior. I probably should have wrote behavior there, but I forgot exactly how it was because there's actually two networking classes now. There's the networking behavior, there's the networking class, and then there's another network class, which was the old system that Unity used. And I don't know why they named this networking behavior, since you have to access networking before you can do it. But that'll be one of my complaints right here. Okay, first we're going to access this local player variable, and that's the key to separating controls online. This is how you tell which network is yours and which game object belongs to which player. And if it's yours, if it's your player, then it's gonna be then this is gonna be true. If it's not your player, it's gonna be false. And that's how we're gonna be separating controls. Now right here, I went into the wrong thing. Now I went to the right one. Come on, and here we go. Okay, now we run into the second problem I had, and this is the one that took me a half an hour long to figure out. This would lead you to believe you could just write this on the top of the script and it would work that way. It does not. You have to access Unity Engine, import Unity Engine.networking, and then you have to put networking in front of this and put networking behavior. That's why I typed in networking there, expecting this to come up, but it didn't. But this would lead you to believe it works this way. No, it does not. And that took me a half hour to get through because I forgot that. I actually had to go back to some of my old work and look at it and see how I got the networking code to work, and that was my first problem. You can see I just copy and pasted it and thought it was going to work, but no. Now, let's see. Okay, right here I'm about to access the second script we need, which is the third person user controls. And what Unity has done when they set up the third person character, they've actually separated it, and this will be good going forward when you start creating NPCs. The third person character, it just holds all the stuff a third person character would need, like running and moving and stuff like that. But the third person using script, this has all of our button inputs. Now what we're going to do is we're going to change around some stuff in here. That way when we press a button, it only works for our character, and that's the second script we're going to be accessing. We're just going to modify some small stuff in here, and we're going to be writing the NetworkPlayer script, which is going to be our actual script to separate the players. And fast forward this. Okay, now we're in the third person user control right here, and we only have to change around two things in here right now. We have to make this jump only happen on our player right here, and these controls right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the whole fix update only happen on our player. If it's not our player, then we don't want any of this to be called. But unfortunately, I make a lot of mistakes right here. Let's see. Let's go to 419. Fast forward this. You can see me just coding in my first mistake. Well, actually, this is my third mistake right here. Now, I want to go over this. The networking class, I've created the NetworkPlayer script right here. I've done that before. It doesn't have anything written right now. Well, actually, you just saw me create it. So yeah, it doesn't have anything written except that code. But what I forgot, and what took me the other half an hour, was you can't access a network script from a regular script. I don't know why Unity does that, but you can't access it. It just won't work like that. You have to access this regular script from the networking script, and that's the only way it could work. And right here I made a big mistake, and I couldn't figure it out because I was trying to access this script right there, but it wouldn't let me access anything in it. And at first I thought it might be because I had it private, or that it worked in a different class, because normally when you write a class script in JavaScript, you can't put it on the game object. You can't put it on the player, and that's because that's a function of mono behavior. If you ever wanted to put a script on a player that was your own script, you would have to extend it from, that was your own class that you created, you would have to extend that class from mono behavior class in order for you to do that. If you didn't do that, then it just wouldn't let you put the script on the player, at least in JavaScript. I know in C# it does let you put it on the player, but in JavaScript, no. And I thought it might have been that for a while that was messing me up, but no. It's just that you can't access this networking class right here from any other script. And this networking class can access any other script, but it doesn't work the reverse way around. And that's what took me the other half an hour. Otherwise, this is just simple code. Really, I only had to write about 2 lines of code here, but let's fast forward this because, I know this is kind of long and I don't want to force anyone to sit through it. So let me check my list to see the next important part, which is about 9 minutes in. You can see me messing up a bunch of code here. I tried to access if it was the player, which is pointless because this script would only be on a player, so I don't need to check if the object is tag player. Eventually I figured that out and erase it. And right here I'm creating a variable. I'm trying to access the isLocalPlayer variable, And again, you can see my problem. I have to access this script to get to the isLocalPlayer variable, but it's not going to allow me to do that, and that's where I messed up at. So just go through this real quickly. If you want to see it, and I'll probably put up the whole video because it's actually pretty funny. If you know a lot about coding and you're watching me make all these mistakes, it is pretty funny. But if you're just trying to get this project done, then no, it's not that funny, and you probably just want to watch this video instead of, I might put the other one up. Okay, I believe this is where I figured it out. Yeah, this is, now what happened was I went back to some of my older scripts and I looked at them and I figured out the proper way to access this, because I was getting these errors right. Pause it right here. See, I'm trying to check to see if there's something wrong, and the documentation is pretty much screwing me over. Unity really needs to fix this and give better examples. And so I think maybe it's the pragma strict, but no. And these are the two errors I'm getting. You see, I'm getting errors that it can't find a local player, and I know the local isLocalPlayer is a part of the networking code, but I can't figure out why it's doing that. So here's the part where I access some of my older scripts to see what the problem was. Just fast forward just a little more and a little more. Okay. Yeah, this is pretty long. Now I couldn't find a script right here, so what I had to do was look on my other computer and find it and see how it works. Let's go by this. Okay, and here we go. Now I'm figuring out how it works, and this is what you have to write to access the networking class right here. Unity. Well, I spelled engine wrong, but I'll fix that in a minute. Now it's see, gave me an error about the engine. Let's go back. Let's just examine that code. This is the proper way to access the networking class. You have to write import Unity engine networking. It'll obviously be different in C#. I forgot the exact terminology they use, but the C#, I'll be posting a C# version of the script, so you can just look at that to see the exact terminology they use. But in JavaScript, you have to write import Unity engine.networking public class NetworkPlayer extends, and right here I'm going to write networking in a minute. And you can see I'm writing it right now. Networking network behavior, and that's the proper way you access it. And as you can see, the documentation completely screwed me over and cost me a lot of time. See if I can just go through this, see where the next important part is. 16. No, we're past that already. And we're still going, Yeah, this gets pretty long. I'll try to fast forward as much as I can without skipping over anything. Okay, I was still having a problem, and we gotta solve one more problem before we can do this. Let me see what it is. I actually got it written down somewhere. Okay, I believe I solved the... No, I still got the problem. Right now, I figured the problem is that class thing I was talking about before, where it's just a class script that I can't put on top of the player, so that's why it's not letting me access the variable. But it's not that. It's just that that networking problem I was talking about before. Okay. Just go through this, fast forward all of this. It's not really important. And let's just get to the part where I solved the problem. Yeah, it gets pretty long here. Okay. Alright, here I did something. Okay. Now, as you can see, let's go back a little bit. Right here. Try not to miss it. I created this new variable. Public var is mine. Now, I've begun to figure out the problem, and the solution is I'm gonna access this is mine variable from the networking script, the player networking script right here, and that's what this variable is for. Now, instead of before, when I tried to separate it by the is local player variable in this script right here, I'm going to separate it by the is mine script variable right here, and you can see me erasing the is local in character.is local player. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to access the is local player variable in the network playing script, and then I'm going to say if is local player true, then I'm going to access this script and say is mine is true too, and that's how that's going to work. So right here I'm changing the code. Let me see right here. Right here, I believe, yeah, I had to change it over here. And I don't know if I'm going to go past this later on, so I just go cover it here now. Something I erased. Right here, this piece of code right here, it checks for the camera. It just basically says if camera.main is not there, if it's not here, if we don't have the camera, then the camera equals the main camera in the scene. We're not going to need this anymore because we're going to manually do this because we're going to need to play with the camera. So I'm going to delete this whole block of code right here. And I did it somewhere, but I don't want to skip past it and just have everybody confused. But I deleted this whole block of code right here because we didn't need it anymore. We don't need a camera check anymore because we're putting the camera in manually. And we don't need this camera check right here because it's going to mess up when we set the camera controls later on, when we separate the cameras, because I didn't want to access the wrong camera by accident. Okay, now you can see me writing the local code. I'm checking for the is local player variable, and I'm saying, hey, if it is that variable, and I wrote get component wrong, fix that error in a minute, and here you can see it's accessing this script right here, and I'm saying, hey, if it is the local player, then get that third person user script and is mine equals true. And I believe I still spelled component wrong right here, so I had to fix it. Come on. Oh, right here. I forgot to wrap the function around, wrap this piece of code in the start function. Yeah. At this point I was pretty angry because I was trying to figure this out for like half an hour, and I really should have just looked at my old videos where I actually did it. But this is the reason I do these videos, so yeah, you won't have to go through the same stuff like I had to do. And I put JavaScript at the end. Now that's important. I want to go over that. I probably should have went over that before. Now, since I'm writing both these code, I'm writing it in both C# and JavaScript. At the end, I put a JS for JavaScript and a CS for C#, and you can see it right there. That's how you'll be able to tell the code is different. Now we've got that working. Another important thing to note is since I won't be posting a okay, hold up. Since I won't be posting the project online, and I'll just be posting these two scripts, and you add it to the project because I don't want to waste a bunch of space just uploading project on every video. Be sure that you name this script right here, this networking script, NetworkPlayer. It's really important. This name right here has to be the same because it's right here. So just make sure you name this NetworkPlayer. Okay, let's fast forward it again. Now right here I'm putting a network transform on. I believe I went over this before, but I don't think I changed anything in the network transform. Let's just go back. Yeah, I didn't change anything with the network transform. And the only thing we're using the network transform for is just to track the position. We want the position to be synced online, and that's what the network transform does. Right now it's not important that we change anything, but later on we'll be optimizing our character and we'll change some things in here. But right now we're just putting it on and using it to track the player's position. And of course our NetworkPlayer script that we just wrote right there, we're putting it on the player, and then we should save it as a prefab, but I forgot. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that I was frustrated and angry at the time. Oh, I did change something. Sorry, click that sync angular rotation. That syncs the rotation when your character turns around. Make sure that's pressed. And right there I just left the XYZ with the syncing. Okay. Building the player, blah blah blah. And the reason this didn't work the first time is because I forgot to save the player as a prefab, and I didn't separate the camera like I should have. But you can see I quickly find that out as soon as I start playing the game, and I quickly fix that. Just going through the matchmaking, setting up the game. Okay, and you can quickly see it's already wrong. The camera isn't separated yet, so I figured that out. Then I went back in and I looked to see what's wrong, and you can see my first mistake right there. I forgot to add the player as the prefab. And right there, so he fixed one of the problems. Now, at first, what I was going to do was I was going to separate the controls in a smooth follow script, but then I thought about it, and I thought that was a stupid idea, so I didn't do it. See right here, I'm about to do it, and then I say nothing. And I end up separating the controls in the NetworkPlayer script. It's best to keep all your stuff combined, that way you know how it works. And I just deleted that finding the camera thing right there that I was talking about earlier, that block of code that finds the camera, because we don't need to find the camera anymore, because our camera's going to be part of the prefab, and we're going to manually put the camera in the the cam spot right there. Now it should already be like that, but if it isn't, put the camera in the main camera spot. And the reason I don't want it to find the camera is because when you're online, you're gonna have multiple cameras. You're gonna have like 3 or 4 cameras, and the problem is the first player will find this camera fine, but the second player, he's gonna find the first player's camera, and that's why I don't want it to find the camera automatically. I want you to put the camera in that spot right there. That way when you're online, it already has this camera right here, and it's not looking and getting confused. And the reason you might say, like, why don't I just get rid of the camera if I'm not using it? Because the other player, why don't I just get rid of the other player's camera in the game? Because you're on the network and there's 4 players in the network and there's 4 cameras. But the reason I don't do that is because the movement of the third-person controller in this game, in Unity, the way they set it up, it depends on where the camera is. So we need the camera. We just don't need the camera to be on, or we don't need the audio listener on, and that's what I do in this script. Alarm, let's just dismiss that. Sorry. And that's what I do in this script right here. I separate it by turning off, if the camera is not on with, I turn it off, and then I turn off the audio listener. That way we still have the camera, that way the player can still move. The other players can still move, but we don't have all the visual and audio data. And here's another hiccup with Unity. Just go over in a minute. Yeah, I tried to separate it right here at first, but ultimately I am going to do it in this script right here. And I'm just leaving all this stuff in so you can see just how it is the code and how many different ideas you'll come up with, and just a real environment where you're actually making video games and you're trying different things. A second. Plug came out. Oh, sorry. Plug came out. I just had to plug it back in. And let's resume. And right here, that didn't work. So hold on. Yeah, let me just fast forward this to the part I wanted. Okay. Now what happened there, let me go back, because this is another hiccup with the networking that I didn't like. You can see right here that I'm getting stuck on this screen, and that'll be important in a minute. I started the game. You can see I started the game and I created the internet match, and then I got stuck, and I didn't know what that was. I thought it was just a glitch in my computer. So I went here, I tried to start the game up, and I got stuck, and that's why I figured out what it was. The camera, the camera wasn't on in the scene, and it cut all the cameras off. Now let me show you why that was. Right here, I was depending on is mine right here in the awake function to separate the controls, and it does it. The thing about it is, for some reason, awake and start work different in this networking script right here. They don't sync up to the same way. Now you can see right here, I put the controls to say is it mine or not in the awake function, and let's go back here. You can see I put the camera controls that depend on is mine in the start function. And if you know anything about Unity, awake is supposed to be called before start. And when you do what the networking is, it's not like that. Awake is still called before start inside this script, but it doesn't sync up with the rest of the scripts. So you can't if some of your code is time dependent, don't try to sync it up with two different scripts. With the networking class and the script that's not networking class, because start is being called before awake, and I don't know why. Start is being called before the awake in the networking player, and that was the problem right there. That's what made me move all this separation code just into the networking script, because that was the problem. And when you saw me not getting when you saw me just stuck on that screen and I wasn't getting the camera, that's why, because this was never coming true, because start was coming true first. And that was a little hiccup that I didn't really know happened, but it's good to know, and that's why I make these videos, so you know little stuff like that. And you can see I just put all the code in here just to save myself a lot of trouble there. I say, hey, if it's mine, if it is the local player, blah blah blah, and I just change it. And what I do is I access this script right here, then I access the camera in that script right there, then I get the audio listener and the camera, the actual camera component, and then I turn them off if the is local player is false. That's saying if it's not my player, then turn the camera component off and turn the audio listener off. And that basically solved the problem of separation of the characters right there. Now let's just fast forward this so I can show you the results. This video is already long enough. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Okay. I start the game, create an internet match. Right now, I'm not starting the networking because it's all the same. So I just create a regular, wait, no, I did start the networking. Okay, I run over. Now I've got this sped up. But as you can see, let me actually slow it down so you can see it. It's a regular speed. Okay, what did I do wrong there? Nope, still sped up. Okay, what's going on? Okay. Yeah, okay, I got it back to regular speed now. Now it might look a little choppy here, but that's just because of the screen recording equipment. But what I basically did was, you can see, hold up, let's just speed that up a little bit. I think I actually slowed it down. Okay, it's a little sped up. But what you can see, the camera controls are different. It's tracking the player's position over the network. And we've got separation of the characters. Only thing left is to animate the characters, which is actually pretty simple, but it's a little trick to it, which caused me about another 15 minutes or so. But since this is going to be sped up, it's going to be faster. I put the network animator on, then I put the animator in the exposed variable over there, which you just saw. And I think it's going to run like that, but it won't, because Unity has to be complicated. And there's a little trick to fixing this, which I'm going to go over right now. I'm just going to skip to that part, because you see me fail a bunch of times and try to figure out the problem. And ultimately what the problem is you have to put this prefab in the start function, inside the scene right here, and then you have to, let me just go a little bit forward to actually show you. Now right here, there used to be a glitch in Unity where you had to have the network animator above the transform, and that's what I thought it was, but it wasn't that. It was, hold up, let's go a little forward. Yeah, as you can see, it took me a long time to figure out what the problem was. Okay, now here it is. You see these right here? You won't see these when you first come in. You have to put this prefab inside the scene, and then just click all of these right here, all the animations that you want to sync. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you want to suggest a tutorial, please suggest a tutorial in the comments down below. Thank you for watching.